Cynthia, Daryl, and Grant from Rika Technologies. This is our next installment of Incubate This, where we explore business as it relates to technology and what does it really create to take a startup, to make a startup. And today, our guest is Mr. William Loopesko. Say hi.
Hi, guys.
Who is the owner and creator of PuppTech and the PuppCom.
That's right.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about PuppTech and the PuppCom?
PuppTech is developing technology to help dog owners be able to better care for their dogs and all the times that they can't be with them. And our first product is called the PuppCom. It's a portable environmental monitor so that dog owners who need to travel with their dogs can always be able to better care for their dogs and know how they're doing.
Awesome. So Rika Technologies, which is our incubator company, as you guys all know, we helped William go from the stage that he was at where he had been pitching for a few years, a couple of years, right, before we met you?
Well, yeah, like a year and a half.
Yeah. He'd been pitching and he was getting really excited, and there was lots of interest, and lots of investors were saying, yeah, we can really see how this is going to be great in the market. Nobody was writing a check.
That's right.
Yes. So we got involved with William, and we said, we got to have a thing. Like we got to be able to prove that the idea works, that in reality, the thing, when you have it built, actually does what we say that it's going to do.
And that's why nobody was writing a check. Because
Right.
they wanted to see an MVP.
Right.
Minimum viable product.
Right. So what we did was we provided a 3D printer. We helped figure out some very, very basic boards and chips and sensors, which we ordered in kits off of Amazon, I believe.
Yep.
And we started building the mobile app while William and his crew of interns were madly soldering in the basement.
Yep. Lots of soldering.
When was
lots of burnt fingers.
Yeah, when was the last time you had soldered before you did that to
I
get on?
had never soldered.
Awesome.
Never soldered. So that was one of the things that
So
I
see,
learned.
having a tech startup could mean you get some new skills.
Lots of new skills. Always. So many.
So the reason that we asked William to be on today is because our goal as a company for Rika Technologies through our brand, gotanapidea.com, we are exploring. Lots of people have ideas. They have really, really fantastic ideas. And the number of times in a week when somebody says to one of us, I have an app idea, and then they start telling us 20, 30, 40 times a week, depending on what the setting is. The issue is that they think the very next thing is, how do I get funding? What they don't realize is that the gap between I have an idea and I'm ready for funding is enormous.
Years worth.
And so we asked William to come on the show with us today because we want to understand more about your experience. We've been on part of this journey with you.
Yes.
For the last
15,
2 years.
16 months?
Yeah, we're coming up on 2 years in like September, October, I think.
Year and a half.
Yeah, year and a half. But there was a lot of your journey before you found us.
Yes.
And what we're trying to do is we want to close up that gap for people, educate them, help them understand much earlier on, what are you really getting into when you say, I have an app idea or I have an idea for a technology company.
All the stuff that took me like 2 years to figure out that I could have done in like 6 weeks.
Yeah. All right, so explain to us. So our product that we're offering in the marketplace is called Apptrepreneur, and there's a couple different stages of this product. The first one is sort of this introductory analysis where Grant, Daryl, and I get on the phone with you for an hour, hour and a half, and we talk through your idea. And we take notes, and we throw out ideas, and we help you kind of congeal, gel, maybe congeal is far
And that's
too...
exciting all by itself, having the three of us on the phone together, congealing things.
Hey!
It is. It's an adventure. You never know which direction.
Right.
That's right, you don't. We help you figure out what is the core feature, your killer feature of your app, and what makes it different.
Yeah.
So did you go through an exercise like that to try and figure out what's out in the market and how are we differentiating? Like, tell us a little bit about how you got to where you were when we met you. Because you actually started out totally somewhere other than where we ended up.
Totally somewhere other. So the basic premise is that I have a dog. I live here in Colorado with my dog, and I want to go hiking in the mountains, but I also, on the way home from that hike, want to stop for a sandwich or an errand or even just for a pit stop, and the dog has to wait for me in the car. What do you do? So we originally conceived of an air conditioner that would control the climate inside of the car, keep the car nice and cool, and then it would have a built-in transmitter to transmit to an app, and then a way for people to check on the dog to make sure that they didn't smash the windows. And right away, I was at the stage that you're describing where I was like, this is such a brilliant idea, and I can't believe nobody's thought of it, and investors are just going to throw money at me because I am such a genius for coming up with this idea. Yeah, make it, you know. This is so obviously brilliant that people are just going to want to throw money at me.
Light bulb.
So it didn't quite work out that way. But we did start off on this journey. So we spent $50,000 in sort of family money and savings to get a prototype of the air conditioner, and it worked really well.
How much?
$50,000. But our product, it was
Yeah.
about this big.
I mean, it was literally an air conditioner.
It was literally an air conditioner.
Like probably the smallest portable air conditioner you probably could get. And they're not small because you have to compress. I mean, it's compressing
it worked
air.
off of ice. So you
wow.
in addition, you would have to fill it with ice. And it worked really well. The ice made it so that it was much cheaper, and it didn't have to have a compressor and all that stuff. But it was still about this big. It was a cooler that we had modified. And it required 40 to 50 pounds of ice.
Could you put like beer and soda in it too?
Absolutely. That was part of our pitch was
2 mints in
you
one.
can keep your dog cool and you can keep your beer cool. But
Dogs and beer
Yeah.
going together for millions
it's
of
the
years.
ultimate road
Very
trip.
American.
When you're going
Very
on a road trip,
American.
you want to bring your dog, you want to bring your beer. Maybe a sandwich.
We do not sanction drinking and driving, especially not with animals in the car.
And we do not sanction letting your dog drink and drive. Right.
Ever.
Ever. Well, and we weren't sanctioning that either, to be fair.
We're making William really uncomfortable. Fortunately, he did get to see one of our podcast videos right before we started this, so he gets the tone of this.
Well,
While
and
we're
I've
very
been working with
interested
you
in,
guys for
we're very
long
interested in
enough to know.
debunking myths and showing that we know what we're doing in this area, but we're also interested in being people and having a good time. So
Because really, that's why you're doing this.
That's
That's
right.
why anyone who's getting started on this journey should be doing it, because it
That's
is a
right.
lot of fun. But yeah, so we had an air conditioner, and we spent a year trying to get people excited about an air conditioner, and we had a lot of really great feedback from our customers saying, yes, I love it, I want to, this solves a problem that I feel every day. But the problem was it was really big and it was really expensive, and nobody wants to invest in an air conditioner company. Air conditioners aren't cool, they're not sexy, they're not apps. And even though we had an app, they are cool.
By definition, they're cool.
conditioners are cool.
wait, but wasn't there a thing on Indiegogo that was like a new chair? I mean,
Yeah,
what's
oh.
cool and tech about that?
Well, but probably no investor invested in that. People wanted to buy it.
Right.
But because of the nature of our product, we needed $400,000 or something to be able to actually get this thing into production, probably more. And so that was, we needed investment. We weren't even at a point where we could really do a crowdfunding campaign for a chair. Chairs are a lot simpler. So anyways, so after a year of really getting people excited about this, a lot of the feedback we were saying, first of all, from investors was no way. And maybe a little stronger vote language in there. But then also from our customers, they really drilled down and said the thing that we most care about is the monitoring. A lot of people said, I already have a way I keep my dog cool. I keep the air conditioner running. I have a remote start system. I have all these things. And we saw that more and more cars were headed in the direction of being able to stay cool while the engine is off and while the person is away. And so really we identified that our core value proposition was in the monitoring and in the software that we could build around that. And because we didn't have this big capital intensive manufacturing product, we still needed a little hardware product, but our product is now this big instead of this big. Because we didn't have that huge upfront capital need.
And no ice.
And no ice.
And no beer.
And no beer. Maybe we'll build a beer
Startup
opener.
fail.
Maybe we'll build a beer opener onto the product.
Yeah, that would be cool.
But no, because we didn't have that big upfront capital need, we could really focus much more on developing a lot of cool software to wrap around our product to give people that monitoring that they wanted. So that was the pivot that we made, and it took us over a year to get there. And it was only after a lot of feedback and customer interviews and being on the news and all of that that we really realized that was where we needed to go.
Okay, so that's awesome. It points to what's part of the Appreneur program, which is we work with our clients to help them identify. Once we've said, here's what your core feature is and your core functionality, we work with them to identify who are your target users. What we create these user personas where we say, how old are they? What's their income level? You've done that work, right?
Oh yeah.
At what point did you do the work identifying your audience and your user personas?
So very early on, the way this all started actually was that $50,000 I got for the prototype, I actually got from my dad. But he was very skeptical about this at first too. And so before I could sell him on that investment, we went together to have a booth at the Denver Pet Expo, and we had just a drawing of what we were trying to make because we didn't have any prototype yet, and not even a drawing of the box, just a concept drawing. But we had people come and they took a survey, and we were handing out tchotchkes with our brand on them. And right away, the enthusiasm that we generated off of that first event, that was what really got my dad sold as the first investor into PuppTech and what allowed us to get the money to go onto that next level. But so right away, we realized that customer research was the critical path of understanding why people wanted this and why they were excited about it.
Yeah.
But then beyond that, it took a year to really hone in on the really critical part.
So what we do as part of our Appreneur program is, because we've built a lot of startups, I have built many of my own in my career in the last years. And Grant and Daryl have each been party and parcel and employees and equity players in various startups throughout the years. And then we obviously run an incubator where we've helped build many companies in the last few years that we've been doing this. And what we discovered really early on is that market research piece, the earlier you do it and the more feedback you get early, the less time and money you spend later fixing or changing something you already put a lot of money into that didn't quite hit what your users need. And so that's where this concept of rapid prototyping came from.
Yep.
We said, wow, we can actually do a rapid prototype of a simple, self-contained mobile app pretty quickly in 2 to 6 weeks, depending on complexity, and have it demonstrate a core competency really, really well. And there's no server, there's no data running on across the wire. It's all self-contained, so we can load it on whatever devices. And so in your case, you had to kind of get past, because you had a device involved. You had sort of the original device, which was, we're going to solve the problem. And then you got to the point where people said, I can come up with a solution if you just tell me I have a problem.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Yeah, so our problem is fairly complex, and we used to say there's 3 parts of it. We got to cool, we got to monitor, and we got to inform passersby. And we had really been focusing on the wrong part of the equation, which was the cooling. And it took us a long time to realize that while the cooling is important, there's a lot of other players that are doing it, and it was not really where we added a lot of value and where we really wanted to be competing. Our real value was in the monitoring and the passersby interface. And so it took us a long time to rethink the way that we solved the problem that we had originally set out to solve. Okay.
So what we're pointing to is that, first of all, there's a myth in startups.
Yes.
People think, I have this really great idea. I'm going to get all this money. I'm going to be totally rich.
Yep.
And when you see these stories, because it does happen, like I've been party to several companies that have been that level of success.
We've all seen The Social Network.
We've all seen The Social Network. Facebook is absolutely a perfect example of something like that. We all have seen the story of the 15-year-old kid who builds the app in his basement and Google buys it for $100 million.
But I would push back a little bit.
We're going to dispel this myth, so say what you're going to say, because you're about to...
Well, I would push back a little bit on the myth that The Social Network was he just had an idea and money came pouring in. Because by the time the money came pouring in, he had already built a product that had hundreds of thousands of users, and that's when the money came pouring in. Nobody that I know of has ever really made a lot of money on an idea. I mean, even the 15-year-old kid in the basement, they still had to go out and make the product work. And that's really, we didn't start having success in our business until we actually did the soldering and wrote the code and actually showed that we had something that worked.
Yes.
So
Soldering is key.
Soldering is key.
Even if you don't have a hardware product, you should probably solder something.
it's the bird fingers really build character.
Right.
It makes
easier
you
to type.
feel closer to what you're doing.
It does.
The smells.
The
Right.
smells will definitely.
Burnt flesh, that's what creates
The
success.
fumes will definitely do something.
So what you're pointing to is exactly what our philosophy is, which is that there is this gap. There is money usually that it takes to traverse the steps of that gap, but there's also time.
Yes.
Because you're now almost 3.5 years in.
We started working on PuppTech in spring of 2015, so that was 4 years ago.
So we're 4 years in.
And I quit my job to do this full time a year later, so 3 years ago.
Yeah. So and that's another thing that you're pointing to, which is success is not usually a nights and weekends thing.
No, it can't. It will not be.
Yeah. You have to be the absolute single biggest champion of your own product. The thing that we'll say about William, having been involved with him for a year and a half, almost 2 years, this guy talks to everyone about what he's doing. And he's not ashamed of it, he's not abashed about it, he's not worried about what they're gonna think. He knows he's got this thing and it is going to change your life, and he makes sure he tells everybody about it. Nobody is a bigger champion of PuppTech than William.
Yeah.
Which is exactly how it should be. Now, the thing that William also has the ability to do that we're working on how to tease this out of people, because I believe everybody has the ability to do this. How many people work for you right now? Working on your project in some way or another.
We have 17 people working on this project. And
how many of those people are actually getting paid? Non-equity.
One.
He's got 16 people believing in his idea, working for equity in his project because of his level of passion.
And they have been you guys are some of the most recent additions to the team.
These people have all been with you 2, 3, some of them
3,
since the beginning.
yeah.
Your dad's been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's on the board. His father does a lot of work around helping to build PuppTech. So it's not like he just handed him a bunch of money and said, see you later. He's fantastic.
Every day.
Yeah. So.
Well, and just, I had to quit my job because I got to the point where I realized, I never really liked my job, but I got to the point where it was like, I'm going to have to choose between a job or this idea, and I cannot do this idea without investing in it 100%. There's not enough time for me to be able to do it the way it deserves to be done if I don't quit my job. And I don't think you or anyone else who has been working for me for me or with me for this time, they would have never joined PuppTech if I was doing this nights and weekends.
Right.
But you did more than just quit your job, didn't you?
I did. So when I was 27, I had a job, I had a house, and a girlfriend. And then by the time I turned 29, I had no more house, no more job, no more girlfriend.
Now, did the girlfriend leave because she was like, that's a stupid idea, I'm out of here?
Yeah, basically the girlfriend was like, you clearly care more about this new company than you care about me, and she was right.
Okay.
Yeah, but then I moved back in with my parents.
Why does it have to be an either or, right? Why does it have to be a choice?
know,
Why can't it be, I like your idea, I'm going to get into this?
I know. And that is the difference between
Support.
girlfriends and wives.
Well, but
In my view, and
in
not
her
that
defense,
you're married, but when you can get on board with the level of passion and level of idea that you had, that person is a keeper. Because you have an entrepreneurial spirit, you have that personality. It doesn't matter in 5 or 10 years when PuppTech is huge and we sell it, you're going to be looking for the next thing. That's just who you are.
Totally. In her defense, it was so all-consuming.
In case she's watching.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Yeah.
Just
Or
in
any of her
general,
friends.
We don't know who you are, but we think you're great.
It was all-consuming enough that, really I didn't have time to.
Right.
I didn't have time to do anything, whether it was be a boyfriend or even be a friend, or my performance at my other job was suffering as well, because it was very clear that I really just wanted to be working on PuppTech all the time.
Yeah.
And I actually, when I say I quit my job, my bosses realized that there was something going on, and they said, "What's going on?" And you're going to have to choose. So I did get forced into it a little bit, but I definitely chose to leave.
And then you decided to sell the house.
And then I decided to first put the house on Airbnb,
reduce all your
and then
expenses so that you
eventually sell
could,
it, and
really
then-
focus and not worry about how am I going to eat next month.
Exactly. Well, and I'm very fortunate to have parents who were able to take me back in and feed me for the last 3 years. So.
I need somebody who'll feed me.
Yeah.
Feed me, Simo.
But yeah, living in their basement for 3 years is not really what I had envisioned when I got my job. But I'd be.
Yeah, it's another myth that building a startup, having a tech company is super glamorous and cocaine and hookers and whatever else, right?
So cool. No.
That I don't think that's the reality. At least not for the first.
At least
5
not for the air
years.
conditioner
3 to 5.
startup.
Not for the air
No.
conditioner startup because it's not cool.
Because it's not cool.
There's a reason all these tech companies started in a garage, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. No, it's not cool. It's not glamorous.
In parents' garages.
In their parents' garages.
Most of the
Yeah.
basements.
It's not like they went out and bought the garage.
Started it in my garage. That's a 3-car
Dad, can I
garage
ask you to
attached
park in
my
the
huge
driveway for
house.
the next
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
basically?
Yeah. Well, I have taken over a section of my parents' basement that's just full of boxes and soldering irons and crap for PuppTech. No, it's not cool and it's not glamorous, and most everyone that you talk to won't get it, and they'll say, why don't you just go get another job? Why are you doing this? Isn't this a dumb idea? Do you really think this is going to work? What makes you think that you're smart enough to be able to do this? Let someone else do it. So it's not only is it not glamorous and not cool, but it's also very lonely, because most people really don't understand the journey you're going through. You have to find someone like these guys who actually have been through it and who get it and who get why it can be so addictive.
Yes, it can.
Yeah.
Yes, it can.
But there was even more pushback from the marketplace, right? I mean, everybody you talked to wasn't like, "Ooh, that's such a great idea." In fact, it was quite the opposite sometimes, wasn't it?
Yeah, so there was
Yes.
actually a period of time where there was there was a direction that we were going with the marketing and it seemed to be working, and then all of a sudden we sort of dropped off a cliff
Yeah. We got a lot of
because
blowback.
there was this perception that we were encouraging people to leave their dogs in the car.
Yep, the way that seatbelts encourage reckless driving.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a small but very vocal part of our market that strongly is opposed to everything that we're doing, and has been extremely vocal in letting me know how they feel about that. I've been called a dog murderer multiple times. And how do you feel that you'll have the blood of thousands of dogs on your hands?
They've
Yeah,
actually
well-
said that, right?
Yes.
It was a direct quote.
Direct quote. Someone.
Thousands? What are we? Is this the dog accost?
I know.
I mean,
I think you just got compared to Hitler or Mussolini.
Thanks,
but
Grant.
that's the whole point. Is it's ridiculously blown out of proportion. Like you said, I mean, it's in a lot of ways what it really provides is peace of mind for the owner, and it's definitely not encouraging. If you're not going to do a behavior just because you have this now, you are. No, it's the fact that a lot of people You know, a lot of people don't really admit that they do leave their dog in their car for brief periods of time
that's
because
really-
it comes up. You're running errands and you can't.
Sometimes
you
it's
know?
inevitable.
It's peace as a parent. It's peace of mind for
gives
your
you
dog,
peace of
very much
mind.
like it's peace of mind to have a baby monitor in the room.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
The reality is it going to help that much? Maybe. You know, you can hear him coughing or something. But
Yeah, I mean, if you go buy a baby monitor, do you be like, well, now we can keep the baby in the other room all the time?
I know.
Yeah.
Because we have a baby
Now I
monitor.
can
so-
go. Now I can go to the bar and
Yeah.
watch my baby
Right.
on my phone.
You know, people don't do that. So it's just definitely, I think, being looked at wrong.
Isn't it more likely
By
that
some of these
somebody
people.
who seeks out a technology like this, seeks out a device like this, is actually exactly the person who's concerned about the right things and is going to use the technology the way that it's intended? You know, I don't believe that there's this group of people that are like, well, I was going to leave my dog in my car for an hour, but now.
Yeah, there's a lot of stigma around leaving a dog in a car, and there's a lot of people that think that anyone who has ever left a dog in a car is basically a murderer. And so a lot of what we've been hearing is, oh, well, if someone's so irresponsible that they'd ever leave their dog in the car, they're not going to buy your product because, like, why? You know, clearly they don't care enough about their dog at all
Yeah.
to be able to even want to.
But this isn't just
That's
useful
bull.
in the car. And,
That's
so
right.
I'm on the board of the only remaining husky rescue in Colorado, Thunder Puppy University, Thunder Puppy Canine
Woof.
Rehabilitation and Rehoming.
She has several of them, and
I have several of them over there, and we have a bunch.
They're
So if you
adorable.
want a husky, please call us. We have talked about it because you have these, you know, kenneling areas where the dogs play outside. Some dogs really wish you'd let them sleep outside. I mean, it's like you can hear them in your head being like, I want to sleep outside. It's going to snow. I'm so excited. Now, we have snow dogs, so if you have a Chihuahua, your dog probably doesn't say that.
Yeah, no, they don't.
But we have cabins.
if any of your dogs are saying anything,
Your cat doesn't talk to you?
He does.
not with words.
Not with words.
Grant's like, oh. We have a cabin that's got kennels in it where at night when it's time, all the dogs kennel up, and we have heaters in there, and we, you know, when it's hot, we have 2-room air conditioners for when it's warm. Something like this
Absolutely.
would absolutely help with the peace of mind of whoever's on the campus to not have to be running down and checking on them. Like, I can see it, you know, put 1 or 2 in different areas. You know, if you know you have a cold spot, you know you have a hot spot, and you're trying to come up with like a way to keep those 2
Yep.
things, stick 1 in each area. It's sort of like a portable thermostat
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And so there's lots of ways to use this that add value and that are useful.
Yeah, I
Right?
mean, so a lot of our customers are hunters who transport their dogs in crates. We have police and military working dog people that they have to be on the road with their dogs all day, every day as part of their job. But then, rescues, pet hotels, people that are just traveling and want to leave their dog in a hotel room, say, and they don't have access to the thermostat, or they're worried about something, maybe the AC going off, even in a house. So there's lots of different applications outside of cars, but we do originally face that stigma of, oh, you guys are just trying to leave dogs in cars so that they'll die.
So,
That is not the case.
4 years later,
Yep.
last summer, which would have been just over 3 years in, you did an extremely successful Indiegogo campaign.
Yep.
From anybody's point of view, we originally set out to sell a certain number of these devices and raise $25,000. We ended up almost hitting $35,000,
And now we're up to
and most of that,
45,000.
yeah, and most of that was in the first 2 or 3 days
Yeah, we
of
hit,
the campaign.
we hit our $25,000 goal in 3 days.
Explain for people who maybe don't know, because crowdfunding is sort of, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this, because I know about it because I started doing research when we were looking at it for PuppTech. Crowdfunding is this new micro investment concept, I think, where people they want the security of buying something. So in your case, they're actually going to get a device at some point.
Yes.
But they also sort of really want to invest in new technology. Like, they want to be on the edge, but they don't want to be so far on the edge. And so you have this concept of, if if you could get 500,000 people to give you $1,
Exactly.
now you have a company and you can actually move forward. And so you just have to get a certain number of people behind your idea in the general population, right?
Yep.
How is this a function of technology and building a startup versus like why wasn't this a thing 20 years ago for like a more traditional company? Like why doesn't a restaurant get on Indiegogo? And
So some of them now do.
Yeah, I
Do
would
they
think it's
really?
just the forum wasn't there.
I think so. First of all, I want to say to our backers, if any of them are watching, you will get a unit.
Oh, yes, you're
soon.
definitely getting a
You're
unit.
definitely getting one.
Yeah. We are eagerly
We are all
working towards that. It's going really fantastic. I'm
Except not
excited.
right now.
Not,
Yeah, right in this like 30 minutes.
Last night we were literally writing code.
Yeah.
My soldering iron's heating up right over there.
2 hours ago at Starbucks.
Yeah.
Plug for Starbucks. We get like an endorsement.
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh, and I don't have my smart water. Smart water was going to be my thing because that's like in every
Oh, should we
video
do product
so far.
placement?
I think. There we go.
These videos are entirely shot on Apple products.
They are. That's true. They're pretty low. I think that crowdfunding's really been an outgrowth of the bigger social media movement, and really hasn't been possible before that because of there just wasn't a forum for so many individuals from around the country or around the world to come together in support of one thing. I don't think it's a new concept in the sense that businesses, local businesses have always been able to raise funds from, say, their constituents of like, hey, we're going to build a swimming pool and we need everyone to donate, and then you'll get free access to the swimming pool.
Like co-op.
Yeah, co-op type businesses, or help us build a restaurant and get a free beer for life. Or I think that concept has always been there, but with the advent of social media technology and platforms, really now we can do it on a global scale. And so for our crowdfunding campaign, we were able to engage with customers that are really excited about what we're doing, but happen to live on the other side of the country, and we would have never met them otherwise. Yeah.
It's probably a comfort level too, right? I mean, back in the day, when the web first got started and was starting to blow up, people were like, "I'm not putting my credit card on that, even though it's perftly safe." I still have family members now who still say that.
Yeah.
I'm not giving them my credit card, right?
It's ubiquitous enough now where, just the other night I saw a posting in a local on the Nextdoor site, and some family that needed some money because of circumstances, and when they described it, I was like, I feel like I want to. And so, it's a link in a social forum, a link in in a write-up, takes me right to a page. I sign in, put in a credit card number, you can donate $20. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all done in less than a minute.
And part of what the crowdfunding platforms do and the service that they provide is that they not only provide a venue for all of these people to come together, but then they also provide a level of trust by being able to say, like, we guarantee this product, or we can offer refunds, or they have different ways of building that trust so that you're not just throwing money.
And you point to,
void.
go ahead, Grant.
And then my story also points out that a big component in this is the fact that you have the social media platforms on the side driving, because you were real proactive, right, about using the PuppTech Facebook page and postings and different things to drive
Instagram
people
and
to the
Well,
campaign.
Yeah, that speaks to one of the another myth is that there is a crowd out there that is just waiting to back new projects. And while that's sort of true, 20% of our funds came from the sort of Indiegogo crowd. But 80% of it came from our own crowd building. And no crowdfunding campaign will ever be successful if you don't do 6 to 9 months of crowd building before the campaign,
you
so
launch
that you
the
can
campaign.
bring your own crowd, and then from there, other people will get excited.
Yeah,
So
see,
once again,
who
you're
would
not
know
gonna-
that, and if you blow the timing on that, you've kind of blown the timing on
Oh,
that.
yeah.
And you're not
You
going to
can't
just
go back.
drop this Indiegogo or Kickstarter campaign and instantly you got $1 million,
No,
right?
same thing.
And were there requirements for them to even let you do your campaign? Like, did you have to hit some certain metrics before they said, yes, you're ready, and here's when we're going to do your campaign?
So Kickstarter has very strict requirements. Indiegogo does not. They allow kind of anyone, but they have different certifications that you can achieve that get posted on your page to build that level of trust. So they publish what stage your company is at, whether you're still in idea stage, or whether you actually have a prototype, or whether you're actually even in production or shipping. And then also we worked through a program here with a local electronics distributor company, and they have a sort of a startup mentoring accelerator program as well. But they've partnered with Indiegogo to be able to certify new products, and so we were able to display that badge on our page. And
Was that Arrow?
Yeah, that was Arrow. And then
Another plug.
another plug, Arrow Electronics has a great program for startups, and if you're doing a hardware startup, you should definitely go check them out. But because we had that Arrow certification badge, it was validation to our backers that what we were doing wasn't just vaporware, and that we did have this big company behind us that had looked at it and said, yes, this product can exist, and we believe in it enough to put our name on it as well. So they will let anyone on, but just because they let you on doesn't mean you're going to get in any way funded. And we spent a lot of time beforehand making sure that we had those partnerships in place and that we had reached the level that as high of a level as we could to really maximize our chances for success.
And again, that doesn't happen by creating a Facebook page, creating an Instagram account, posting a couple times a week, and like crossing your fingers and hoping, right? Like you're out every day having those conversations, talking to people in the real world in order to attract them and get them interested in what you're talking about, right?
Yes, absolutely. And we went to dog parks and we went to shows and we took out booths at events, and obviously some of these things require money. But to Cynthia's earlier point, I have a great team of people that work with me, and so a lot of that I was able to put into their hands and say manage the posting and manage the emailing. And if you believe enough in what you're doing, you should be able to get other people who believe in it as well, who can help you with a lot of the grunt work.
I'm curious how all of that coordination that you're basically doing, you are a CEO in every respect. I would imagine investors see that, and that's got to play positively towards them.
Absolutely. A lot of, if you talk to investors or go to accelerator type programs designed to get you investment, right away you'll learn that the number one things that investors are looking to invest in is a team. And so investors don't want to invest in one guy or even just a couple of guys, like it was just two guys writing code in a basement. Well, great, they might be great at writing code, but that's not the team that is needed to actually build a successful business, because a product or an idea is not a business. A business requires much more than that. And so yeah, absolutely. The fact that we have such a large and committed team is a really core part of our investor pitch. And really one of our big differentiators in terms of when investors are looking at deals, they'll see, well, here's a bunch of really great products, but this company has also a really great and experienced and committed team behind it.
How much did you know about business before you started this?
Rothing. I was a geologist.
My favorite joke, geology rocks.
Oh yeah, no, there's a lot of...
Rock star.
Well, you went to rock star.
Yeah, we do it in beds. I went to college and got a bachelor's in geology, and then I got a master's in civil engineering. And then I worked as a civil engineer for 3 years. So really nothing to do with any kind of business.
And what were you doing when you came up with this, and what was your job?
I was working for an engineering firm here in Denver as a water engineer doing groundwater wells, so drinking water wells, golf course or a housing development.
Also not sexy.
Now, also not sexy, and it's a very important job, and I'm glad some people are doing it, but it was definitely not for me. Yeah.
What was your inspiration for PuppTech?
So I originally had this idea, again, just from, there was one particular incident where I went hiking right after I never had a dog before, and so I didn't know anything about dogs, but I always thought it'd be cool to have a dog because I love going hiking and camping, and having a dog to do that with me would be great. And so I got a dog, and right away we went on a 3-day camping trip in southern Colorado. Had a great time. On the way home, we needed to stop for lunch, and finding a place to park in the shade was really tough. And then instead of enjoying my lunch and my beer, I was running back to the car every 5 minutes to check on the dog. While the person I was camping with, while he stayed back to enjoy his lunch, I was so worried about the dog. So I got back to Denver and I asked my vet, hey, I'm a new dog owner, what should I do in situations like these? And she said, well, you should just leave the dog at home for the entire weekend, which to me totally defeated the purpose.
And don't you
of
still
having
have the
a
same
dog.
problem? So now you're camping and you have a dog in a house where the power may go out and it may get really cold or really hot.
Well,
or
you
not.
don't, you don't leave a dog
it's-
by themselves
you
all
just-
weekend.
You just don't
board
go
them
camping,
yeah.
or you board them, or you. But
Okay.
I wanted a dog
you
because
have a
I
house
wanted
sitter.
to take my dog hiking. That was the whole. That's why I got a big athletic, lab type dog, because I wanted.
Whose
to be
name
able
is
to do that.
Clovis.
His name is Clovis, and he's wonderful.
He's wonderful. He's so sweet. He's like the chillest dog you've ever met. I have huskies. They are not chill.
No,
Clovis is super chill.
Sleeps all day. But anyways, but for a while
And you
it
can
was.
see him in the PuppTech promotional videos.
You can see him pretty much all over our website. For a while, it was just an idea, and it was just like, this is something cool, and maybe at some point I'll start working on it. But what really created the spark was that my boss got laid off. For no reason, through no fault of his own, he got laid off. He showed up to work and got told, this is your last day, that's it. And he had a wife and 2 kids, and I thought that really sucked, and that was really unfair. And I know that layoffs are part of working, but I was really worried that at some point that might happen to me, and really I was like pretty appalled by the injustice of it all, and I figured that the only way to make sure that that didn't happen to me was to start my own business. And so that's really when I went back to this idea that I had 6 months ago and said, all right, I'm going to do it. I don't know how, but I'll figure it out.
Nice.
Had you ever talked yourself out of the idea? Had you ever thought, hey, that's a great idea, but I don't think anybody would pay for that?
I never have. I've had a lot of people who have tried to.
Okay.
A lot. But no, I've never. So it's bad to think that something is a good idea just because you want it, because everyone is different and markets are very fragmented, and just because you think something's good, you might represent a tiny segment of the market. But also, conversely to that, at least in the case of me, just this is a problem that I felt like I was not the only person to experience. And that certainly I was not the first person who wanted to go hiking with their dog and then have a sandwich afterwards. This has to be more of a universal problem. So,
How important is it that doubt happens, right? We all, as entrepreneurs, I think we would agree, doubt happens. It happens a lot.
a lot.
And Grant's like, no. I think it's a natural part of the process. I think if you're having doubts about what you're trying to do, that's not an indication that you should stop.
No.
At what point does doubt turn into some intuitive knowing that you don't have something that's more universal, though? And I think that's the place where what we try and get to at the end of our startup program, the Appreneur Startup Program, is for you to have enough information about your idea, about your market cap, about your competitive analysis, about all of the things that William has spent 4 years learning. We try and give you enough information in that snapshot to be able to say, am I really committed enough to follow this thing through to get where it needs to be? What really is it going to take? You're going to get a little insight into what it's going to take because we have you take your prototype out into the world with all of these market analysis, research, guided demos, interview questions, and we set some success metrics and say, you got to get pretty close to these things. Otherwise, either there's not a big enough market or you aren't investing enough of yourself and enough of your time. And
So I can't tell you when that level of doubt becomes
more than just
doubt. Because I haven't gotten there.
Yeah, we shouldn't be talking about that, I feel like.
But what I can say is that
No, but it's useful for people who might be watching this, who might be saying, I've been going
People
for
tend
4
to lean
years.
towards doubt, so I think that
I would say
I don't think you have to.
some people tend to lean towards doubt.
I mean, yeah, okay. I think a lot of people tend to have self-doubt about the value of their idea or whether they can actually accomplish it. I mean, that's one of the biggest things. Is a lot of people don't start something because they're afraid that they can't do it perfectly, so they just don't start.
Yeah.
I like to say that being an entrepreneur, and certainly I would not even presume to say that I've been successful yet, but I've been persistent. Being an entrepreneur requires a level of self-confidence that borders on arrogance and a level of optimism that borders on delusion. Because in the face of like, and this is a classic story. So right after I quit my job, I was trying to network around Denver and get involved and find investors and just get into the space. And everyone kept saying, you have to meet this woman. She is just she's the queen of pets in Colorado, and she knows the whole industry, and she's an expert on pets. And if she doesn't, if she can't hook you up with the right people,
Nobody
can. And if she doesn't, you have to talk to her. And I had 7 people introduce me to her. And so when I finally got a phone call with her, she said, wow, like you are the most well-connected person I've ever met. I have all these people that have been talking to me. And then that was the high point of the conversation. From there, it was just, she hated it. Hated everything we were doing, thought it was a terrible idea, thought that I should have never started. Nobody's gonna buy it, this is stupid. And that's the point where most people might have said like, well, here is an expert, universally recognized expert in the field telling me that this is a bad idea and that I should quit. And I just figured, you know what? She's wrong, and she doesn't know what I know about what I'm doing, and I'm going to prove her wrong. So you really have to have a level of self-confidence that borders on craziness. And a level
People
of
like that
optimism.
can be great incentive to me, because like sometimes I've said I do my best work out of spite.
Yeah.
When somebody
I have a
tells
long-
you
I have a
can't
long
do
list of
something,
people despite, yes.
it's almost it really fuels it. Like
I think for some
not
people,
gonna let them be right.
For some people, it really does, but for other people, for most sane people, it would probably deflate you.
And I guess the reason I'm bringing this up is, one, anybody who might be sort of teetering on that edge of wanting to even dip a toe in the water, like with Entrepreneur, and see if you have the ability, the interest, the desire, the chutzpah to do this thing.
Cojones.
Doubt is natural. It's normal.
Yep.
It is. It's, like you said, like almost getting to that point of like, just keep going.
Just keep going.
Just keep swimming.
Successful entrepreneurs are too stupid to quit. And there's been...
Too stupid to quit.
Yeah. If I was to write a book about this, that's what it would be called.
Too legit. Too legit to quit.
No, too stupid.
Too stupid to quit.
Too stupid to quit. Because there's been dozens of times when I should have quit, or when most people would have quit. And I just told you about one of them, but there's been so many others where like it looked like we were at a dead end, or that what we were working on would never. Like one time early on in the development of even the air conditioner, our engineer called us up and was like, "I don't think we're going to be able to make this thing work. It's just not like we can't figure out how to get the car cool enough."
Don't get the beer cold.
But we just well, too bad. Let's keep figuring it out. And then we did, and then it
Hot
worked.
dogs and warm beer, yeah.
Yeah. So you just really have to be able to persevere through pretty much any obstacle that gets thrown in your way. But I don't know where you hit that line of like, okay, well, now I really should not be doing this.
And I think we would all argue, and you might argue this too, I believe that line never comes if you're really willing to follow it through.
I think that's right.
I say to everybody, there is an entrepreneur inside everyone. And given enough coaching, education, time, investment, belief in yourself,
Yep.
that will come out and it will be successful.
Yep. But it's not going to be easy.
But it's not easy. And there's a lot of people who would rather easy. Like they just have different priorities in this, and that is totally okay.
Totally okay.
And sometimes
Probably
what comes out of Entrepreneur, the startup program, is people say, wow, I just spent 3 months demoing, talking to everybody, and I'm exhausted. How do you do this every day? And it's like, well, that's good data for you to have that you didn't have before.
Yeah,
like we helped you learn what it really takes, and you're like, wow, I don't know. I mean, I missed half my kids' soccer games in the last 3 months.
Yep.
And you're like, that's, so we want to help you get to a place where
you get knowledgeable about what the trade-off is going to be.
Yes.
That's the thing. That's really the thing. It's not, we're not really here to emphasize here's how much it takes to get there, because for any individual project it may take more or less.
Yes.
Some projects may be, small in scope, that okay, but the point being that whatever it is you're going to have to trade off for success of your product, of your idea, you want to know what that is before you decide, I'm going to go for it.
Yes.
Because if somebody says it's this level of effort, okay, I can sustain that for the next year or two.
Yep.
But if somebody says it's this level of effort and it's going to include, say, traveling all over the world 5 days a week, well, I got 3 kids at home. I don't want to, or whatever.
We're not getting a paycheck for 3 years.
Then that gives you the ability to make that decision wherever that line is that we were kind of talking around, wherever that line is of go or no go. And I think that the more fully informed you are going in to make that decision, that is going to be easier to stay committed in the go.
Yes, when it
because
gets
it's
tough.
You knew this. It's not like, oh my gosh, now I got to get a lawyer.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, now I got to hire a marketing company. That's all on paper.
Yeah.
You already knew what the schedule was for promotion and for legal work. And you were ready to take that on, so you know it's coming.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
And knowledge is power. I mean, it's kind of a cliche, but there's a reason cliches are cliches, right? Knowledge is power.
And power corrupts.
That's right. Absolutely. Absolute power.
So knowledge corrupts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we should all be stupid.
And that was one of those weird SAT things we just did there.
That there do.
All right. So, any last thoughts on anything that we've talked about, Daryl?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, Grant? Any last words, thoughts?
Go to Got an App Idea and buy a PuppTech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
GotAnAppIdea.com.
PuppTech.com.
Buy a PuppCom.
Buy a PuppCom from
PuppTech.
PuppTech.
PuppTech.com.
And if you don't have a dog, go to Thunder Puppy and get
buy
a
a
dog.
dog.
And get
So
a
then
dog.
you can
Buy
get
a
so then you can get a PuppCom
One-stop shopping, friends.
right here. It's all happening.
There's more.
I just want to say
Last pearls of wisdom.
last pearls of wisdom. The journey is hard, but it's well worth it. And I wish that your program had been around when I had first started, because it would have saved me a lot of pain and time and effort and mistakes.
Yeah, so essentially what we would have done with William 4 years ago in this program is we would have taken at least that first 2 years of, figuring out where you were and condensed that way down.
No cooler.
Yeah, we would have gotten a no cooler much faster with you.
Maybe
I
not
don't
have
know.
spent $50,000.
Probably not. And in fact, the incubator program, the startup program, is a fraction of even that.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is help people like you who have these really great ideas narrow it in, get focused, get clear about what's in the market, just because of our success in building companies and seeing how those pivots happen over sometimes a very long period of time.
Yep.
But help you get more of that information in a shorter period of time with much less investment up front, so that you are educated when you decide to take the dive and you know what it is you're diving into.
Yep. And you know what it's going to take.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We love working with you. We are super proud of where you are right now. We're very, very excited for the spring and the summer, because the units are going to be going out. The app is going to be out in the hands of
We're getting some new
hundreds of
investment.
people. We're getting new investment money. It's a very exciting time at PuppTech.
Yes.
We are thrilled to be on the journey with you. Thank you so much for letting us be your partner the last year and a half. And
Well, I'm thrilled to have you guys, and we would have never made it here without you. So
thank you.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here with us today. Super enlightening. We love William. We love his energy. We love who he is in the world. And so we're really thrilled that you came and participated with us and played with us a little bit. This
Of
is
course.
what we do
This
for
has
fun
been
every
really
week.
fun.
So.
Yeah.
We'll have to
Cool.
do it again in a year so
Yeah.
we can show a comparison.
Yes.
Here's where it was.
Yep. Here's
No.
what happens in a year with a fairly advanced, mature, successful
how
startup
much
to the
older
point
Grant
where you
looks.
are.
Right.
So it'd
Yeah.
be really interesting to see.
Well, I'd be happy to come back.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your time. We have enjoyed having you. We hope you've learned some stuff. We've dispelled some myths and maybe brought up some other questions. Please post your questions probably a couple times a week, a couple times a month. We're going to start doing a Q&A podcast video where, people say, you threw this thing out, like everybody should know what that is. What does that mean? So please, in the comments section, or send us an email, post on our website, whatever, with your questions, because we would love to help answer those. For Daryl, Grant, and Cynthia from Ricotech, and William from PuppTech, thank you so much. We'll see you next time.